Welcome, adventurers! In this video, we are going to take a look at a Necromancer Wizard build for the game Baldur's Gate 3. Let's get right into it! For the race, I picked Drow, however, you can pick whatever you like since it won't make or break this build. For the cantrips, I recommend Firebolt, Light, and whatever else you prefer. I would take Mage Hand, which is useful for a multitude of things like throwing grenades at your enemies, shoving them, or disarming traps. As for Firebolt, once you've found a scroll, you can respec to pick something else. The same goes for Bone Chill, Ray of Frost, and Shocking Grasp since they are all obtainable with scrolls. For your first spells, I recommend Mage Armor, Magic Missile, and Shield. Besides these 3 spells, you should pick whatever fits your playstyle. For the background, I played as the Dark Urge, so I was automatically granted the Hunted One background, but you can pick whatever you like since the impact it has on this build is very minimal. If you really want to min-max your character for combat, the Entertainer background will give you proficiency in the skill Acrobatics, which makes you harder to shove. For the ability scores, I recommend that you raise your Dexterity to 16, your Constitution to 14, and your Intelligence to 16. That leaves us 4 points. You can put those points into Charisma to help you with your social skills, or you can put them into Wisdom to increase your Wisdom saving throw. Take note that in Act 1, you will have the opportunity to increase one of your ability scores by an extra +1. If you decide to take advantage of this, you should respec your character to set your intelligence to 17, which will give you a score of 18 with this extra +1. I won't say more to avoid spoilers, but you can check out the link in the description of this video if you want additional information about this. For the skill proficiencies, I recommend Arcana and Investigation because they both benefit from your high intelligence score. Also, there is a fair number of checks for those 2 skills in the game. At level 2, we can take the Necromancer subclass. Right away, you'll get the features Necromancy Savant and Grim Harvest. With Necromancy Savant, you halve the cost to learn necromancy spells from scrolls. And with Grim Harvest, once per turn, if you kill a creature with a spell, you regain hit points equal to twice the spell slot level used, thrice if it's a necromancy spell. We are also going to get some more necromancer specific features at level 6 and 10. More on that shortly. At level 4, we are going to increase our intelligence by 2 points. If you have +1 to your intelligence because of what I was talking earlier in the video, you should now have an intelligence score of 20. If not, then make sure that you max out your intelligence before taking any feats at higher levels. At level 6, the Necromancer subclass will give us the features Undead Thralls Animate Dead, Undead Thralls Additional Undead, and Undead Thralls Better Summons. With Undead Thralls Animate Dead, you gain the Animate Dead spell. What is great about this is that you don't need to prepare it anymore. With Undead Thralls Additional Undead, when you use Animate Dead, you can raise an additional corpse. So with Animate Dead alone, you will be able to control 4 undead minions when you upcast it to level 4 and 6. And with Undead Thralls Better Summons, creature created with Animate Dead have additional hit points equal to your wizard level, and your proficiency bonus is added to their damage. For the level 8, I recommend that you take the feat Dual Wielder. With this feat, you will be able to equip 2 quarterstaves because they are versatile weapons. It's also going to give you a +1 bonus to your armor class. At level 10, the Necromancer subclass grants the feature Inured to Undeath. With this feature, you become resistant to necrotic damage and your hit point maximum cannot be reduced. Very situational, but better than nothing. And for the level 12, I recommend that you take the feat Warcaster. With this feat, you gain advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell, which makes it a lot harder for enemies to break your concentration. Also, it allows you to replace your opportunity attacks with the cantrip Shocking Grasp. Here is the spell list that I was using towards the end of my playthrough. Keep in mind that you should adjust this selection based on the situation that you are facing, your playstyle, and your personal preferences. As you can see, I have the unique spell Danse Macabre. This spell is obtainable by any classes, but for the Necromancer it is more powerful because of the Undead Thralls features that we get at level 6. Usually with Danse Macabre you can summon 4 ghouls, but when you are a Necromancer you'll get 5 ghouls that do a bit more damage and have a bit more hit points. If you want to know how to obtain Danse Macabre and the other unique spell on this list, you can check out the links in the description of this video. I will now go over the items that I've been using with this build. For the headwear, I am using the Hood of the Weave, which gives a +2 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. In Act 2, I was using the Fistbreaker Helm, and in Act 1, I was using the Circlet of Blasting. The Circle of Bone is also worth mentioning, but I gave it to another character in my party. For the cloak, I am using the Cloak of the Weave to get another +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. It also has Absorb Elements. For the handwear, I am using the Gauntlet of the Tyrant to get another +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. During Act 1 and 2, I was using the Bracers of Defense, which gives a +2 bonus to armor class as long as you are not wearing armor or holding a shield. For the boots, I am using the Bone Spike Boots, which gives a +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws as long as you're not wearing armor or holding a shield. Alternatively, you can use the Evasive Shoes, which you can get during Act 2 if you did not side with the goblins in Act 1. For the amulet, I am using the Amulet of the Devout for an additional +2 spell save DC. However, you might want to give it to a cleric if you have one in your group and use something else, since it also grants an additional use of Channel Divinity. During Act 1 and 2, I was using Psychic Spark. Also, during Act 2, you will want to get the Spellcrux Amulet, which remains useful for the rest of the game since it allows you to recover a spell slot. For the rings, I am using the Coruscation Ring and the Callous Glow Ring. With the Coruscation Ring, when you deal spell damage while illuminated by a light source, you also inflict Radiating Orb upon the target. An entity affected by Radiating Orb has -1 to attack rolls per stacks. It also sheds bright light in the area surrounding it. You can make sure this always triggers even when you are heavily obscured just by casting the cantrip light on yourself. With the Callous Glow Ring, you deal an additional 2 points of radiant damage against creatures that are illuminated. As you can see, these 2 rings synergize very well together because the Coruscation Ring will eliminate your targets, allowing the Callous Glow Ring to always trigger. For the weapons, I am using the Staff of Cherished Necromancy and macOS gear. The Staff of Cherished Necromancy has Heightened Necromancy and Life Essence Harvest. With Heightened Necromancy, creatures have disadvantage on saving throws against your necromancy spells, making them a lot more reliable. With Life Essence Harvest, you can essentially cast any necromancy spells for free after killing a creature with a spell. The Staff macOS gear will increase your spell save DC and spell attack rolls by +1. It has Kareska's Favor and Arcane Battery. There is 6 versions of the spell Kareska's Favor, 1 for each element, and the one that I am using most of the time is Flame of Wrath, which increases your damage with fire spells and gives you heat. Heat can be a little bit annoying since you'll take a bit of fire damage each turn and it can sometimes break your concentration. However, this damage can be negated with the Helldusk armor, which we will get to in a moment. Arcane Battery essentially lets you cast one spell without expending a spell slot. You should also get the Staff of Spell Power for when you are buffing, since it also has a use of Arcane Battery. During Act 1 and 2, I was using Melf's first staff, and once I got the feat Jewel Wielder, I started using the Incandescent staff as well. For the armor, I am wearing the Helldusk armor mainly because it has Prime Aegis of Fire, which reduces the fire damage you take from any sources by 3. Like I mentioned previously, this is great to negate the fire damage that you get from heat. With this armor, you might want to rearrange your ability scores and lower your dexterity since you won't get extra armor class from it. However, I like to keep it fairly high to have a decent initiative. Alternatively, if you're not going to use the fire version of Kareska's Favor or you don't mind taking a bit of damage each turn, the Robe of the Weave is also a good choice since it gives a +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. During Act 1 and 2, I was using the Protect the Spark Wall. In Act 2, there is also the Robe of Exquisite Focus, which looks a bit better. With Animate Dead, from level 5 to 8, you can summon zombies or skeletons. The zombies have Crawling Gnaw on their attacks, and when a creature with this condition dies, it is raised as a temporary zombie that takes 1 damage per turn. This can be quite fun, but I usually prefer the skeletons since the zombies are not very mobile. The skeletons too are not mobile, but their ranged attacks offsets this. Also, they deal more damage than the zombies since they have necrotic damage on their attacks. Upon reaching level 9, you will be able to summon ghouls or flying ghouls. The ghouls have more hit points than the flying ghouls, but just like the zombies, they're not very mobile, and this is why I prefer using the flying ghouls. Also, the flying ghouls have a higher DC than the regular ghouls for their paralyzing attacks. In Act 2, there is a place called the Torm Mausoleum. While in this place, you have the buff Glutted Catacombs. With this buff, you can summon skeletons without the need for a corpse. I would always come here during Act 2 at the beginning of the day to take advantage of this. This place is located just north of the Grand Mausoleum waypoint, and you will eventually have to come here to progress the story. You should have a character cast Aid to give your minions a little bit more hit points. Another very useful non-wizard spell is Enhance Ability. Cast the Bull Strength version of this spell on a character with a high strength to be able to pick up more corpses. You can then put those corpses into your Traveler's Chest for future use. Unfortunately, you can't send a corpse to camp, so it's a bit tedious to always bring back every single one of them. It's not something that I always do, but if you're going to take a long rest anyway, you might as well cast Enhance Ability Bull Strength on a character and bring back a couple of corpses with you. Alternatively, you can use the Mighty Cloth since it gives you Bull Strength while it's equipped. It's also worth noting that a smaller corpse like a goblin, for example, does not weigh as much as a bigger corpse, so you can pick up more of them. That's it for this video. Farewell, adventurers.